Welcome back to CN2 News. I want you to meet Frank Mobley. He's with a company called Immedion. It's fairly new to Rock Hill. Well, we're happy to have you and Immedion in our area.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Let's talk about what the company does and really who benefits, because we're always excited to talk about new business. This has to do with the internet technology world, data centers, cloud storage, all of that good stuff. Starts to get a little over my head, so that's why you're here.
Okay. All right.
So let's bring people up to speed. Why is this stuff important?
Well, what Immedion does is provides really underlying infrastructure for internet services. And today, as you know, Laurabree, businesses expect and consumers expect information to be available all the time. Well, for information to be available all the time, you have to have redundancies in all of your infrastructure. You have to have backup generators for power. You have to have multiple connections to the internet. You have to have backup air conditioning systems, et cetera. And so what Immedion does is really builds out a data center facility that provides all of those redundancies, so it minimizes the opportunity for outages, not just on with buildings, et cetera, but also with cloud. We have a cloud storage setup as well.
Because if I'm the customer, I'm not. It's businesses hiring you to hold all of their extra units.
That's right.
So if I'm their customer, why is that important to me?
Again, but it's important because if you're a bank, for example, if you're the customer of a bank and you want to go and transfer funds from your savings account to your checking account to cover this check you just wrote, and you go in and the bank's systems are down because they had a power failure at their office or whatever, banks would move their systems over to an Immedion. So again, it minimizes that opportunity for those systems to be down. Oftentimes it makes big news, right, when eBay goes offline or when Facebook especially goes offline. So Facebook builds these data centers, but if you're not as large as Facebook, you can't afford to really build a big data center and operate a big data center, and that's also not your core competency. So a company like that would come to an Immedion. And in Rock Hill in particular, the kind of, I won't call it a smaller companies, but companies that aren't Facebook and aren't eBay and aren't Amazon and don't build their own data centers would leverage an Immedion to locate their computer systems.
And this is the first for the Tri-County, and that's why it's so interesting. I don't want to know if there's a power outage. I just want my stuff to work.
That's exactly right.
And that's what you guys are able to keep going. Now, your background, you kind of got into this, engineering background, but you didn't start in this. You almost had a vision and were able to see where things were going.
Well, yes and no. I was actually in the telephone industry for about 15 years, and part of that here in Rock Hill. But a good friend of mine who's also in the telephone industry, and you know, it's interesting, the whole idea behind the telephone world is you have to keep telephones up and operational 24 hours a day, and they have central offices. This is the same type concept except moved over to computer and IT systems. A good friend of mine called and said he was starting this data center company, which was totally new back in 2000, and I joined him. And then in 2007, I left there to essentially build my own data center in a smaller market outside of. We were in Charlotte and moved it to a smaller market. And our first one was in Greenville. That's
Excited
right.
to have you.
Thank you very much, Laurabree.
Phone number on your screen if you all want to learn more, and we'll be back after this.
Carolina Connection is brought to you by Agape Senior. For more information, visit agapesenior.com.